Vanishing Lighthouse, a journey into darkness. The ocean roared with a relentless fury as waves crashed against the cliffs of the small isolated island of Miren. Atop the highest peak, a lighthouse stood defiant, its beam piercing the stormy night. For centuries, this lighthouse had been a beacon of hope for sailors navigating the treacherous waters of the Northern Sea. But lately, something strange had begun to happen. The light was fading. Rumors spread quickly through the nearby coastal villages. Some whispered that the lighthouse was cursed. Others believed that it was a sign of impending doom. But none could explain why. Each night, the light grew dimmer, until one evening, it vanished entirely. Isla, a young woman with a heart full of curiosity and a soul born for adventure, couldn't ignore the mystery that had captivated the minds of the villagers. She had always been drawn to the sea, feeling a connection to its wild and unpredictable nature. The stories of the vanishing light stirred something deep within her, a calling she could not resist. With nothing more than a lantern, a sturdy cloak, and her faithful dog, Bryn, Isla set out on a journey to the island. The villagers watched her leave with a mix of fear and admiration, their faces etched with the weight of the unknown. They warned her of the dangers, of the spirits said to haunt the cliffs, and of the darkness that now shrouded the island. But Isla was undeterred. She was determined to uncover the truth. The journey across the sea was treacherous. The once familiar waters now seemed alien, as if the ocean itself was warning her to turn back. But Isla pressed on, driven by a force she couldn't explain. When she finally reached the island, a dense fog had settled over it, making the land seem more like a dream than reality. The lighthouse loomed in the distance, a shadow of its former self. As Isla climbed the steep, winding path to the lighthouse, she noticed the silence. Not a single bird called, nor did the wind whistle through the rocks. It was as if the island was holding its breath, waiting. Bryn, usually bold and fearless, stayed close to Isla, his ears perked, sensing the same eerie stillness. When she finally reached the lighthouse, Isla found the entrance door slightly ajar. It creaked ominously as she pushed it open, revealing a spiral staircase that disappeared into the darkness above. The air inside was cold and damp, carrying the scent of salt and something else, something ancient. Isla's heart pounded as she ascended the stairs, the light of her lantern casting long, wavering shadows on the stone walls. As she reached the top, she entered the lantern room, expecting to find it abandoned, but she was wrong. An old man stood in the center of the room, his back turned to her. His figure was gaunt, almost skeletal, and his hair was long and white, flowing like seaweed caught in the tide. "Welcome, Isla," the man said without turning around, his voice a raspy whisper that echoed through the chamber. Isla froze. "How do you know my name?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I know all who come here," the old man replied, finally turning to face her. His eyes were pale and clouded, as if he were blind, but they seemed to see right through her. "I am the keeper of this lighthouse, or what remains of it." "Why has the light vanished?" Isla demanded, finding her courage. "What has happened to this place?" The keeper sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. "This lighthouse was built to protect, to guide the lost through the darkness. But there is a darkness even light cannot penetrate, a darkness that comes from within." Isla frowned. "What do you mean?" "There is a force that dwells beneath the island," the keeper explained. "A force that has been growing for centuries, feeding on the fears and doubts of those who live nearby. It has now become strong enough to consume the light itself." Isla's mind raced. How can it be stopped? The keeper's expression was grave. "It can only be stopped by one who is willing to face the darkness, to descend into its depths and confront what lies at the heart of it." Isla's resolve hardened. "I will do it. Tell me where to go." The keeper nodded, though there was a look of sadness in his eyes. "Follow the path down to the caves beneath the lighthouse. There you will find an entrance, a gateway into the darkness. But be warned, what you face will be more than just shadows. It will be your deepest fears made manifest." With those words echoing in her mind, Isla descended the stairs and made her way to the caves. Bryn followed closely, his usual energy subdued by the oppressive atmosphere. The path was narrow, winding through the rocks until it opened up into a vast cavern. In the center of the cavern was a large black pool that seemed to absorb all light. The air was thick, making it difficult to breathe, and the silence was so profound that Isla could hear her own heartbeat. Without hesitation, she stepped into the pool, and the darkness swallowed her whole. For what felt like an eternity, Isla was lost in a void of nothingness. She could see nothing, hear nothing, but she could feel the presence of something ancient and malevolent watching her, waiting. It was a suffocating sensation, one that made her want to turn back, to flee. But she pushed forward, driven by the knowledge that if she failed, the darkness would consume everything. As she moved deeper into the void, the darkness began to take shape. Shadows formed into twisted, monstrous figures, creatures of nightmare that lunged at her, whispering her worst fears. But Isla did not falter. She confronted each one, calling out their lies, dispelling them with the strength of her will. Finally, she reached the heart of the darkness, where a single small flame flickered in the void. It was the source of the lighthouse's light, imprisoned by the darkness that sought to snuff it out. Isla reached out, and as her fingers touched the flame, it flared to life, banishing the shadows in an explosion of light. When she opened her eyes, Isla found herself back in the lantern room of the lighthouse. The keeper was gone, but the light had returned, burning brighter than ever. The storm had passed, and the fog had lifted, revealing a clear, starry night. The lighthouse's beam once again swept across the ocean, guiding sailors safely through the waters. Isla stood at the top of the lighthouse, her heart filled with a sense of peace and accomplishment. She had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, not just for herself, but for all who relied on the lighthouse's guiding light. As she made her way back to the village, she knew that she would carry the memory of this journey with her forever. A reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is always a light waiting to be found. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Shadow Veil Tales.